I saw a video or meme recently of a picture of monkeys, like the animals playing in a band, and it said, "Hey, hey, we're the people," and people say, and monkeys say, "We people around," and I found that very funny. Knock knock. We are gonna do an unboxing of a deck that I actually don't remember the name of. Let me pause and see if I can find that. All right. Well, it doesn't say. Maybe there's a title card. Anyway, it's a 78 cards, and that's the name of the collaborative. Halloween Tarot and Oracle. So these have been sitting here for a while. I'm so behind on videos and stuff, and I know what these look like because it was a Kickstarter that I backed. So I looked at them back then, and there was a digital guidebook, and I looked at that too. But I truly do not recall the name of it. So I will try to remember and put it in the thing. I think I have, so again, the 78 cards, I think, is the name of the collaborative group. These are collaborative decks, which is not a thing that I usually, I don't know, they're hit or miss for me. I do have another of their decks. I'm assuming this is the tarot. Oh, do we have, 78 Tarot Halloween, Tarot Trick or Treat. Limited edition global art collaboration. So, if I would have opened that, I would have known this. 78 Tarot Halloween. 78 Tarot presents their 10th collaborative tarot deck, 78 Tarot Halloween Trick or Treat, or Tarot of Trick or Treat. Our 10th deck brings together masterful artists from every part of the globe to create a masterpiece to honor Halloween, All Hallows Eve, and Samhain. And they also created a little oracle. And that is called the Creatures of the Night. So we will look at both. I do not know, because the other deck I have from this collaborative was given to me. And this I found sort of quite accidentally. And as I do, I impulse backed it. So let's look at the tarot first. Let's get that out of the way. So, their production quality, I know, because of the other deck I have, is always sort of impressive. And it's I like the idea of this group. I like the idea of, like, sort of people coming together to create a deck, which, whether or not I use it, is another story. But we know I like Halloween. So it's got this it's very thick, incidentally. So it's got this very sort of iridescent backing, which is, I actually quite like the back. So, it's that cardstock that you either kind of love or hate. It's that sort of what has been come to call rose petal finish. But let's take a look. Let's explore together. So here's the Fool, a little trick-or-treater situation. The titles are in sort of gold foil. And again, you're going to see an array of art styles here. So here's the Magician, which is quite cool. And the High Priestess. It seems weird to be doing a walkthrough of a Halloween deck here. And yet, here we are. Happy New Year. The Empress, who's kind of a badass. I love this Empress. The artist's name is very tinily named on the card title. I won't say each artist's name because I'm going to forget. But they're all, in the guidebook, which is a digital guidebook which came with the deck. So the Emperor. He's very young for an Emperor. Of course, that's clearly a vampire. And I shouldn't even say he, although It's somewhat masculine presenting. It's also somewhat, non-binary, non-specific. The Hierophant. I think that this is really beautiful, and I love these lovers. I love owls. I love autumn. I love the trees. It's a very cute card. I think this is a really dope chariot. Again, very cool. It's going to be interesting to see if I can shuffle this, because it's big and it's thick. That's what he said, and here's the strength card. Again, really beautiful work. It's interesting to see a deck. This is obviously going to not make people happy, but it's interesting collaborative decks, I think, because, how do you hold them together? But there's something unifying about there being it being a tarot. The Hanged One. Death, a bunch of zombies. It's excuse me. It's interesting that there aren't more Halloween tarot decks. I think we'll probably start seeing more and more. I don't know. I think that's just because it's becoming both tarot and Halloween are becoming so kind of trendy. Spooky season, all that junk. I mean, I say junk. I like Halloween. I mean, obviously, the devil. The Tower. They're really beautifully rendered. I mean, I haven't seen one that I haven't liked. Excuse me. The Moon. The Sun. I love this sort of... I don't know why, this feels very sort of jazz. The World. Very cute. So here we have what would normally be... I think the Ace of Wands, but it's called the Spirit of Autumn. The Spirit of Midnight. Oh, I guess these are not. I guess these are extra cards. Spirit of Midnight. Spirit of Autumn. Very pretty. This is the Ace of Pentacles, so I was wrong about that. Two of Pentacles. That's cute. Three of Pentacles. I mean, that's could not be more appropriate for the Three of Pentacles, right? The Four. That's gorgeous. The Five. This is giving a little sort of Charles Dickens moment. Six. This is a very nostalgic kind of card to me. And the Eight. This feels very New Orleans, which I'm here for. Not the pumpkins so much, although I love that, but just sort of the clothing, the architecture. The 9. And the 10. Looks like sort of a Dracula family. And then we get into the courts. Here we have the Page of Pentacles. The Knight. The Queen. Oh, that's fierce. And the King. This one's interesting to me because it reminds me of Baron Samedi, but if it's Baron Samedi, then he shouldn't be white. Baron Samedi's face is painted white, but he's not. Ace of Swords, Two of Swords, Three of Swords. Kind of dig that. The 4, the 5, Dr. Frankenstein, 6 of Swords. That's lovely and cool. The 7, impish. The 8. I like the size of the cards very much. In that, I think, the size works for me. We'll see how it shuffles. Sometimes this card stock can be like butter, and sometimes it can be really recalcitrant. Page of Swords. Knight of Swords. Queen of Swords. Queen of the Damned. And the King of Swords. A little sort of Nandor the Relentless. God, I love that show. If you haven't watched What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show, it's so stupid in a good way, and it's probably the queerest show on television, again, in a good way. So strange, so weird. It plays by its own rules. And sometimes that doesn't work, but most of the time it does. And it's so stupid. And such a good... It's just a delight, and I love it. And the cast is so funny. So here we are in Wands. That's a very cool 3 of Wands. I didn't look at the 2. Hedge Maze. I think that's very cute, too. The 4 of Wands. Oh. Little cranky mice. 6 of Wands. And the 7 of Wands, a little Quasimodo is what that appears to be. 8 of Wands. This must be influenced by, I'm assuming, Harry Potter. I'm assuming. Although I'm not the most knowledgeable about Harry Potter, so, but it's giving Harry Potter. This reminds me of another deck, but I like it. I think when I look at Halloween stuff, like, kind of what I want to see a lot of the time is sort of things that look like the stuff of like the Halloween decorations of the 70s and 80s, because I grew up in the 80s. You know, I was born in the 70s. Knight of Wands. And so there's a little bit of, like, retro that I'm always sort of looking for with things that feel Halloween to me. And I think that's probably, you know, anything that you enjoyed as a child, you sort of want to feel a reconnection to, I guess, as an adult. Although every time I revisit something I thought I liked in my childhood, I discover that it's incredibly problematic. So, take that. 2 of Cups. So, as I said, there's a digital guidebook, which I scrolled through. I imagine that there's more information about each card in them. But I just, you know, this has literally been a few weeks. This has been sitting here. And I haven't looked at it yet, which is unlike me because I'm so behind everything. But I wanted to do an unboxing. Because this isn't a deck I go back and forth on whether I want to do reviews or unboxings for some decks. Like, sometimes I like the unboxing. I think it's fun. I like sharing my immediate reactions to things, especially if they're not negative. The review is like having worked with it a bit. But so in this, like in a deck like the Bonefire, which I just did a comparison of recently, that I've actually been using, and I really like this new edition of it. So I feel like I kind of want to come back and do a review of it. This, you know, not so much. So it's I don't know, it's an interesting thing. Not that I don't like this, I just probably won't use it. Not for anything weird, I just don't, you know. Who knows? You never know. I've done videos about decks, forgotten about the decks, then been cleaning and rediscovered them and thought, oh my god, I love that deck. So, and that does happen from time to time. So that is all of the suits. Before we look at the Oracle cards, let's just see how this shuffles, if I can, because it's very big, and I have small hands for a dude, and so I don't. Yeah, it's doable. It's for me. I think if you had bigger hands, you might be okay. Can I corner shuffle it? This cardstock tends not know. So it's definitely doable. It is not easy for me. Once I can get my hands around it, the cardstock bends really nicely and actually slides really nicely too. So, you know, again, if you have larger hands than I do, and I have, you know, sort of comically tiny hands, I once went on a date with a guy who told me I had little bitch hands, which, because I was 21 and desperate, I thought was charming and did not realize was just kind of a mean thing to say. So this is not easy to shuffle for me. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful work regardless. I'll just lay out a couple cards just to see. You know, I'll do a whole 9 card, screw it. And the reason I'm going to do that is really just to see how the deck hangs together as a deck drawn by multiple people. No, there's my... Oops. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at it. I don't feel like OG looks like it was made by too many different voices. I think it looks quite nice. I mean, I think for sure, I would take this out at Halloween. Again, it's a thing of like, I like to, I like when I read to look like I have some semblance of skill, right? So when I'm shuffling, I like to look like I know what I'm doing. And so decks that are really hard to shuffle for me, I tend not to read with for clients. But this is beautifully done. And I think, I think there's some decks that are sort of like lovely picture books. And that's okay. So I'm not mad at it at all. I think it's lovely. A smaller deck or one that was a little easier to shuffle. And I actually like the size. I think if it were thinner, but again, I do have, as a date once told me, a little bitch hands. So take that, me. So that's really I like that a lot. I think really nice. Again, I like the idea of collaborative decks quite a lot. So here's the Oracle. It's called Creatures of the Night. And I think this was an expansion, like a, what do they call it? Not an expansion, like a stretch goal. So here's the back. I like this blue. I like this sort of teal. There's a children. Oh, it's right here. A book. Weirdly, it just happens to be where I wanted it to be, and I think because I was moving things around. There's a children's book that I really liked called A Tale Dark and Grim that a friend of mine's a children's librarian and recommended it to me. And the sort of silhouetted cover reminded me of that. It's so random that I reached for that, and it was literally right there. It's a good book, incidentally. I liked it. I don't really remember much about it, but I remember liking it. I don't read a lot of like kid lit and stuff, but I wanted to be a children's book author when I was younger. But I found out that I like swearing and writing about sex too much. So here is the alien. The automaton. The bat. I think that it's doing something that I kind of like in Oracle decks, and I'm speaking this way right now, or I'm saying it like this right now, because I don't think I noticed this until recently or until just now. But what I kind of don't love in an Oracle is like a keyword that's really hard to navigate, I guess. Like hope or decay. Like those are fine, but like there's something about this that's a little more Lenormandy. And so if you're doing a reading and you're like, oh, what do I need to know about taking this new job? And I get the alien card, then as a reader, I'm like, oh, that's interesting because what's an alien? There's something out of this world. So, contextually, it might mean that this job is going to be out of this world, or you might be in another world. You might feel like an alien there. You know what I mean? Or like a black cat. What is a black cat? A black cat people think of as bad luck, right? A bewitched cauldron. What's a cauldron for? And so in the way of like reading Lenormand, there's a thing that I find really exciting as a reader, which is not so much to have a keyword, but to think about the thing and what it does or what it's for or what its sort of common cultural associations are. Excuse me. Here's the blob. The carnivorous plant. Very cool. The charmed tea. So anyway, the reading that way, I think if you start approaching divination in that way, like here's the clown, right? So what does a clown do? A clown is an entertainer. A clown is sort of a symbol in a lot of cultural histories of childlikeness or innocence, playfulness. It's also very culturally terrifying to people, and so a clown is one of the kind of ultimate contextual things, because either you like clowns or you really don't like them, and the way that you consider that is going to inform your reading of it. So that, I think, is kind of fun. A cursed carousel. Like maybe a little more novel, but what is a carousel does go round and round and round. If it's cursed, maybe it won't start, maybe it never stops. You just can't get off this ride. Death Head Moth, that's gorge. The Demon, playing a little masquerade on us. Eldritch Horror. I'm assuming that this is something Lovecraftian. I can't stand Lovecraft, so. The Enchanted Grimoire. These are also not numbered, and so if you didn't like one, you could take it out. The Enchanted Lamp. I should do a video about lamps. I work with a couple. The Eyeball. Again, what does an eyeball do? What does it do in the context of how it's supposed to function? What does an eyeball do if it's walking down the street? Fae. Gargoyle. Ghost. Ghoul. Goblin. Hag. Haunted Clock. This is very kind of whimsical haunted house. That's beautiful. Jeez. And I think I think you can see why I would have backed this. I think it's just charming. It's fun. It's Halloween. It's exciting. It's exposure to artists whose work I don't know or may not know. What was that? This was Monstrous Hand. And this was Mad Scientist. So here we have Moon Spirit. That's really beautiful. The Mummy. It's so I did this thing around Halloween about like our common Halloween or monster tropes. And I talked about how like the Mummy really does not make sense as a Halloween entity, other than that sort of the Universal horror movies and the Hammer movies made the Mummy a thing, but it's not scary. And actually, there's some really complex tropes around that. The Nightmare, that's again really gorge. Ominous Tree. I thought this was Stephanie Law from the Shadowscape's Tower, but it's not. It's Amelia Leonard's Onryo. I don't know that one. I'll have to look that up. I love owls. I always have. I'm a hipster about that. This owl is very charming. The Puppet. The Rat. The Raven. The Shadow. Skeleton. Snake. Sorcerer. That definitely feels like New Orleans to me, in fact. These columns, or these arches, make me think of the what's now the Mardi Gras Museum and the Katrina Museum. Spectral Knight. Spider. Stitched Doll. Swarm of Light. Ooh, I love that painting. Talking Skull. This reminds me a lot of a decoration that I used to see a lot when I was a kid. One of those Beastal decorations. The Reaper. The Toad. Mr. Toad. A Year with Frog and Toad. The Vampire. Selfishly, I wish this were a handsome guy, but that's just me, and she's quite fetch. Werewolf. Will-o'-the-Wisp. This reminds me of Animal Crossing, which, if you watched some of my videos during lockdown, you know was a big part of my life for a very long time. Now, thinking about it actually gives me burnout, because I spent so much time on it, but I loved that game. Witch Matron. This is Witch Maiden, Matron, and this is Witch Crone. Very cool. Zombie. Zombies are another one that are interesting. And I talked about why. All right. So this is going to be similar from a shuffling standpoint, so I will try my best. And we'll just draw a card here. This is actually a little easier to shuffle because it's thinner. I like Halloween stuff. I don't like going out, but I like the idea of it. All right, creatures of the night, who do we want to hang out with today? The toad. This is making me laugh for personal reasons. I was just reading about toads, and they are adaptable. And they are good at camouflaging, and they are survivors because they live sort of between land and sea. They're innately very magical for that reason. And there's a transformative aspect with them because of how they grow. And they can adapt to living on land, to living in the water, to burying themselves. So really adaptable, really, really fluid, very watery, very go with the flow kind of creatures, and they evolve. And so as they adapt, they also evolve. So we like that. We like that for us. So there we go. The Creatures of the Night Oracle and the 78 Halloween Tarot of Trick or Treat. Both limited edition, created by the 78 Tarot. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Take care, be well, and we will talk soon.